In a study done by Pepperdine University, researchers suggested that people that came from a collectivistic culture would have a more positive attitude towards the homeless, while those who came from an individualistic culture would have a more negative attitude towards the homeless.
In our study, we wanted to discover how people react to the homeless people based on what type of environment they come from. We also understand that there are homeless people every day around Ohio State's campus, especially High Street, whom students see while walking to and from classes and activities. We hypothesize that if one comes from an urban setting, then they will be more likely to completely ignore a homeless person because they may interact and experience homeless people more than someone coming from a suburban or rural setting, whereas someone from a rural or suburban setting would be less likely to ignore them because they have not experienced homelessness as much.
First, Rife and Toomey found a study that homelessness in rural areas is often less visible, as there are less social services and shelters for homeless people.
In our survey, we first asked the respondent where they were from, an urban town, a suburban town, or a rural town. Then, we asked what they do when they see a homeless person around campus. A. Ignore them. B. Tell them you don't have any change. C. Donate any change you do have. Or D. Donate food or items. Then, our final question was, how often did you see a homeless person in high school? A. Daily. B. Weekly. C. Monthly. Or D. Never.
The first graph shows the data from the survey question, what do you do when you see a homeless person? Most people, regardless of where they're from, tell the homeless that they do not have any change to spare, while the least amount of people donate what food or change they do have to the homeless. We found that the most common action from people from rural areas is to ignore the homeless when they encounter them.
The second graph shows the data from the survey question, how often did you see a homeless person in high school? Half the people surveyed claimed they never saw a homeless person in high school. A higher percentage of respondents from urban settings saw homeless people daily than rural and suburban.
Some of the limitations of our study that may prevent our results from being applied to a larger population include, first, the fact that we only surveyed people on a college campus, and many of our respondents were from Ohio. Also, people may not want to make themselves look bad or careless by saying they ignore homeless people. Next, people may not notice that they see homeless people as often as they do. Also, people may not know whether or not their city or town is considered rural, suburban, or urban. Next, we did not survey many people from an urban area, so it was hard to get accurate data from people in that region. Finally, there are so many other factors as to why people do or do not help out the homeless.
Our hypothesis was not clearly supported because none of the urban people we surveyed claim that they ignore the homeless people they see. The majority of people from urban areas tell the homeless that they do not have change to spare. Also, the majority of people living in an urban area claim to never see homeless people when they were in high school. The highest percentage of people that ignore the homeless are from a rural setting, contradicting our hypothesis. In conclusion, the majority of people, regardless of where they are from, at least tell the homeless that they are not able to spare change. People recognize and acknowledge the homeless, but typically cannot and do not help them out. How people react to the homeless stems from many more factors other than what type of town they grew up in. People around the globe do other things to help out those less fortunate, such as working at shelters, volunteering at food banks, and donating food and items to different companies.